Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Roo. Thanks for being on Roodoodles Live Saturday morning. I think it's August 13th. Holy schmoly. Where does the time go? In fact, it just clicks on by, and that's a good thing. Huh? Wake up in the morning, look out the window, see how Dan is doing. Dan, actually, Dan got married in May, and so Carol and I were at that lovely wedding. Dan's probably in his early 80s, and we went to the wedding, and I think we, I think we, no, we didn't dance. Because I don't dance anyway, but usually I'll paint, and while Carol, I'll dance one dance with her, and then I'll sit down and paint while she dances. But it was a country club affair with a bit of standing around and waves and handshakes. But I think you're on an Alaskan trip. Let's not confuse those two places. They both start with the A, but I think they're on an Alaskan trip. And cool, folks. And so I always look out for Dan in the mornings, and he looks out for me. Sometimes his trash can's out there. He's out golfing, and I'll roll it in behind the shrub. Great to have you on. Thank you, neighbors, as I should say. So I feel like you guys are friends and neighbors. I've been looking at some art. Didn't have any time. Had about a half hour, I guess. Started saying an hour, but I didn't. Certainly didn't have a couple hours. Went away for a few days. That put me behind. I have been in this, my office, my studio, my writer's garret, my creative space. Not this is the only place I create in, but for almost 2.5 days straight. In fact, yesterday, I think that was Saturday, Friday and Saturday, I think I was in this chair probably 8 hours every day without moving, just editing some pieces that have deadlined out. I sent the first drafts off yesterday, got some changes late last night, which is the way that we produce. You send it to the client and they send it back, and you volley and say, here's why I did this. Hey, it's good in art to know why you do things. So I'll say, I put that in. They say, I don't know why you put this in here. And I'll go, thank you. I'll tell you. Here's why I put this in there, because that connects to this, which connects to that. And they go, oh, leave it. I like it. Or they say, nope, don't want it. I go, it's gone. Now I've got to creatively figure out how to connect that point to that point. And so that's why the target to art is very important. This doesn't mean that you just can't sit down and take a loose piece of paper and just say, okay, I'm going to draw a B. There's no real target here. It's just a B. It's a B. It's number 368, Ruby, signed by me. And it's just on a little sketch pad. Look, it's just a little very inexpensive Artist Loft sketch pad. I paid $2 for it on sale, but I just wanted to keep up when I'm sitting in traffic or when I'm waiting on something. I'll just grab that, or if I'm just, wherever I am, I just grab that and I kind of go for it. I carry inexpensive paper. I'd call it, I didn't say cheap, I said inexpensive. Or I carry, my other little leather journal that I carry has small pieces of cardstock in it that almost are this size. They'll fit in there. And I paint things on those when I'm sitting at the dinner tables and just places. I gave away a lot of paintings in the Highlands. We went to the Highlands, and my days are still messed up because we went there on a Saturday morning, but we had gotten back here on a Tuesday, which I thought was a Sunday. So I've just been confused, but I found out today's Saturday, August 13th. Thanks for being on the show. Let me say hello to some of you. I'll answer some questions this morning if you got some, and then let me get rid of this counter. You're looking at the desk. It's a little. I think I've probably done just several B's on there. There's B. There's a B. There's a B. There's a B. He's not even numbered yet, so I'll have to go back and put him. I numbered this one before I numbered that one. I think I was up to 3. That would be 67, 66. Yeah, I think that's how it works. And look at this. See that one? He has a piece of turquoise on it. And look how long this bee is. See how long that bee is compared to this bee? This is a queen bee, and she's been spotted. I don't mean seen, but you put maybe a little coloring on the queen so you can find her if you're looking for her and you lose her in the hive. You can just touch her with a little non-evasive, offensive, I don't know, maybe it would be offensive. She might not like tardy turquoise, but I liked it. So I'm reading a book that's called Queen Spotting. Why would I read a book like that? Because it reminds me of the time that my dad would just dig through all the honeybees and find the queen and go, there she is. let's put her in the gum, the brood box, and then all the bees would follow her in there like, yes, ma'am, and they all line up. And fascinating creatures. On my way to paint 2,000 bees, I'm up to 368. So that's where I'm headed this morning. Hello to some of you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. I'm grateful, just so grateful. You know what? I love painting anyway, but I really love painting when you guys are a part of the equation. And you've helped me build a community here. You are the community. Alice Durham, thanks for being on the show. Karen Binder, Heather Kuhlman, Linda Lawless, Andrea Nail, thank you for being here. Linda Schleitning, Donna Sell Barton, Pat Brooks, always privileged. Pat, I got good news is I just got a dozen of our books in yesterday because I got a couple orders last week, and last week, but I'd ordered them a couple weeks before. Still takes a while to get things shipped in bulk right now a little bit. If you want Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle, if you want the coloring book, Roobots, if you want Hey Roo, What's a Wheelbarrow, you can certainly order those from Amazon.com. You can just go in there and type in the book titles. They'll show up and you'll get them quickly because they can print one book and ship it. For me, I have to get them shipped here, and then I have to pack them up and ship them back to you, but I will at least put a signature in some of those. Pat will sign it, her Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle, and send you a little book tab, tag, flag, sticker, plate. There's so many words for that. You can put it in there if you want that as a gift. I did get some Hey Roo, What's a Wheelbarrow? I noticed it's out online, and I've got, I think, a dozen or so of them coming, and all those should be here before Wednesday of next week. So I'll be out of these video projects, and I will really have some time to sit down and put some things in the mail, as well as there's an auction coming up next week. So thanks for being a part of this show. So Pat, hello to you. Jennifer Hitz, Randall Taylor Craven, Valerie Brazy, Sally Ann Smith, Lori Stanley, Handel Meyer Henderson. Thanks for being on the show from Ohio. John Robert Small, good morning from Veracruz, my friend. Sue Kane, always welcome. Glenda Small, Denise Albright, Marie Pikert, thank you for being on the show. Jason Nichols, always glad to have you, my friend. Thank you for the sketch of the church from Highlands. You know what? If it's just a small little sketch and you want to ship it to me, my friends would love that. They don't live there, but her dad was who, actually I need to pray for him again this morning because he was rushed to the hospital yesterday. He's way up in his years, and his health is failing. And she was supposed to be flying out of town. This is my friend who wrote the book with the cherry on top, which I have right over there somewhere. I'll have to find it and show it to you. Yeah, I'm just going to do that right now. Hold on. Yeah, I always keep it right here, and I looked over and couldn't see it. Here's the book right here. It's called Put a Cherry on Top. And David and Joyce I've known forever, and it's about generosity in life and leadership. And this has been a fun book. She put this book together because this is really her style. It's her style in life, and it's her style. It's great stories to read. And it talks about her beginning and her lessons, and gosh, her father had orchards in Florida, and so he also had tomatoes, and so she would sell tomatoes out on the street when she was a little girl, or out on the end of their farm road, and the local ladies taught her about that, how to fix up her thing, and she went the extra mile. She says if it's raining, people still need tomatoes when it's raining, so she would stay out there. She is a tough businesswoman, and just the hospitality. My grandkids think Joyce is their aunt, and you know what? By God's grace, she is. But we were with them, and she wrote this book. It's called Put a Cherry on Top. I think you can get it on Amazon. It's a great story. Certainly, if you have some people you want to share it to about, some of it's about the business that she's been in, and but some of it is just really beautiful about how to serve people with love and joy, and how to help others, and just go that extra mile, which she does for people. Oh my gosh. And so that's who we were hanging out with in Highlands. And so I would love to get that to her if you would like to do that. Jason, that's a great sketch. And the sketch was of a church. I'll show you a picture of that church in a minute because there's a story that goes with it I've held on to. So Paul Lynn, thanks for being on the show. Fern Skelly, J.A. Berg, Gene Anthalzer, Tissy Chambers from Knoxville. Tissy, you wrote me a piece the other day about the DC-3 that made me smile. It was a great story. Thank you. Catherine Brousseau, Brenda Tucker, Nancy Catlett, June Jones, Deborah Talbert. Look at all these people piling in. It's a huge show this morning. Thanks for being here. Skeeter Powell, welcome. Skeeter, I'm going to talk about you a little later if after I paint something here, because the David's Table auction is coming up on the 19th, and I'm going to paint. I'm not going to paint. I'm going to throw some paintings in somewhere here on the desk amidst all this mess that I've been piling on top of things. I do have my painting. It's right here, and I'm going to show it to you in just a second. The painting that I already have. That kind of helped start all this. So you're going to see some paintings from these special people for David's Table. Irene, is it to Shreds? Good morning to you. Miss Carla, welcome to the show. All right, so here we go. Michelle, thanks for being on the show. Yeah, Denise, could I send out the Patreon buttons? Maybe. I actually have gotten as far as to making addresses for them on little tabs. I found out that I couldn't put them in the flat envelopes and I couldn't put them in a regular envelope, so I had to buy a special envelope, and then I had to buy a label to put the label on the envelopes because the envelopes came in black. And it is like the plates fell off all the sticks. So you know what? My Achilles heel is getting it from this desk safely down the stairs to the art bar and laying it out and getting it addressed and then getting it to the mailbox when it's not raining or driving it to the post office. It's like Lewis and Clark could have discovered the whole Louisiana Purchase before I could get it to the post office. So I am sorry. And then it's just been a busy spring. So enough excuses already. Just do it. Okay, I will. Thank you. All right. Yeah, send a church to me, Jason. That'd be great, man. And Jason, yeah, I'll. Well, you know what? No, that's good. If I have an idea, I'll send it to you. But just make sure you sign it, okay? All right, here we go. Let me show you what I was working on this morning. And you saw this little bee laying there, and it's all just on some little scrap paper that I've started making bees on. There they are. This one was the one I posted on Patreon that said, Happy 5, Hank and Joanna, keep making it sweet. And this was a thank you for Hank and Hank Will, who is the editor at large for Grit Magazine. And when he called me and said, wow, I own a couple of your paintings. And I went, what? And he said, yeah, I'm Oscar Hank Will III. And I go, come on, I know which paintings you have. And so, because I remember which ones I had got them mailed. And he said, I think we're interested in having you paint for Grit. And I'm going like, wait a minute, Grit, the newspaper? He goes, well, it's been a slick magazine for the last year or so. And it's out of Topeka, Kansas. And we would like your art in there. And I said, I got to tell you, man, I paint these whimsical roosters, and that's kind of all I do. And he goes, no, that's what we want. In fact, we don't want to tell you what to paint. We just want to give you some ideas and let you run with it. And they just let me go, and I love it. And so it's changed editors over the years, and all of them get introduced to me via email. I've never been to Topeka. Someday, if I'm out that way, I'm going to knock on the door of the office. They do have several of my originals hanging in their office, and I'm just blessed to be a part of that. All right, so what am I going to paint today? Well, I'm going to paint on some different paper for you today. Yeah, I'm going to paint you remember when I started painting and people who were doing the first classes with me, we started with these two pieces of paper right here. We started with Kilimanjaro, 140 pound. This paper was the first paper that I ever started with. I happened to be in Boone at Cheap Joe's art store, and I found this paper, and I knew I wanted 100% cotton. I'd read enough about it to know. I knew I wanted to keep practicing on it till I realized how it handled the water and the colors. Um, I bought my first 5 or 6 tubes of Cheap Joe's art, American Journey art. I bought 4 or 5 brushes, good ones. In fact, I still have one that I bought during that time, probably 15 years ago. Look at it. It doesn't have any paint left on it up here. It's probably because I've whacked it on the jar, knocking it loose. But I can't get rid of it. I'm going to keep it. I bought this size because it fit well in the little shoulder art bag that I carried, and that's real important. At that time, I didn't have a bug out bag. I just piled everything in there and had to dig through it like you women do when you're looking for your keys or your wallet at the checkout. I've got some stuff in here. And, one day, what I did? Carol is out having tea with her friends. She has 5 women that have been having tea together once a month for like 10 years or 12 years. They give each other gifts. I took something. I got to show you. Let me see if it's here. If it's here, it's worth me showing. Shucks. Don't you love it how I just get up and go to around my office and you don't know where the heck I've gone? This is this little anvil. I have small anvils on my desk all over the place. This one weighs about 4 pounds, but I have one bigger than this. But I've taken this one a couple times, and so that's 4 pounds. And so I opened up her purse and I slipped this down in her purse and I put it down in the bottom and then I put some things back on top of it and I just let it go. So she grabbed her purse off the kitchen chair, runs to the car, and I noticed she kind of grabbed it and went, wow. But she didn't have time to clean it out and see what was in it. She goes to lunch. So during lunch, she says, I'm getting my notebook out. She comes home and she goes like, I cannot believe what you did. And I go, oh my gosh, what did I do? She said, I'm trying to get my purse out. And I say to the ladies, what in the world have I got in my purse today? It's either loose change or it feels like I have an anvil in there. She reaches down in her purse and has an anvil. And it's a little bigger than this one. It's a blue anvil. But this one is just, this may be 5 pounds. And so you think about 5 more pounds hanging in your purse, and it just made me laugh. So I wanted this bag that I carried all my stuff in. I didn't have my bug out bag, so I'd have to dig through all of it. And I used this paper, Kilimanjaro, still love it, 100% cotton, 140 pound. And I used this paper, just a simple, inexpensive Strathmore paper, mixed media, and it's 184 pound, but it's made for markers. It'll hold watercolor. It's slick. It's a little like hot press. But I just wanted those of you who were starting with me to have a paper. Some of you had been painting acrylic and some oil. I wanted you to have a paper that the colors would just kind of run rampant on a little bit. And I may have to hit my snooze button here, my sneeze button in just a minute. My nose is still going crazy. I've been to the doctor. I had a sinus infection. Took something for it. You know that old joke, right? I'm a kleptomaniac. The doctor told me to take something for it. So I have painted a little rooster on here, and this is very slick paper. So if you ever want to use something that's just kind of a fun practice paper, I used to do my first classes with this. I said, this paper and this paper will give you the feeling to find your style. I do 98% of all the paintings I do on 140 pound paper. Even my little bee pieces that I'm doing, this is just 140 clipped. Zip with a paper cutter, 140. But this today is on mixed media paper by just Strathmore. All right, kind of a fun paper. And so what I thought I'd do is I just put some music on and give you a little paint here. Not paint by number, but grab this Yasutoma brush. We grew up not on a farm, but my dad had 4 or 5 acres that about an acre and a half was garden. And then about a third of an acre, quarter of an acre took up bird dog cages and quail we raised to train the dogs with. And we had 60 gourds hanging from a cable from a big beech tree all the way back into a massive hickory. And those were martin homes, so the martins could eat the birds. birds, bees in the morning. And we had down the lower part of the property was a fenced-in area that was chicken houses. I can't paint with that though. The chicken houses where my brother was part of 4-H and he raised Rhode Island Reds. And so they were sort of this orange-red chicken that we raised. And I think of them often because I'd go down when the peeps would come in. We'd get 100 at a time and we'd raise them up until they were little pullets and until they were layers. And then, of course, once they had done a year with us and their laying had stopped, they became Sunday lunch because we would dispatch them and I would dip them in the cauldron at the end of the clothesline where Mom beheaded them. And yeah, it's one of those things. It's what we grew up knowing where chicken nuggets come from. You know, kids grow up today and they go, I'll have some chicken nuggets. And you go, you know where they come from? They go, no. You go like, seriously? Chicken nuggets? No. I guess they're made out of chicken. Oh, really? So do chickens grow them or where do they get them? And some kids don't know that, you know, something has to lose its life for you to have meat. And I'm not offended if you're not a meat eater or if you just love vegetables. But if you're going to eat meat, you're probably going to have to think, I guess something's going to have to give up its life for us to be meat eaters. So in this case, it was the chicken where I grew up. And we didn't go to the grocery store to get them. We went down to the chicken house. So this reminded me this morning, I was thinking of this little Rhode Island Red. And see how this paint will run a little more on this paper. So those of you who are still getting this figured out, the amount of water in your brush that you put down first, the amount of pigment in your brush makes a big difference. This is the same color as this. I just use more water and I just let it feather in a little lighter. If I want it a little darker, I can pitch in a little of this orange right here and bring it in. Or, see, Rhode Island Reds aren't always red. Sometimes they're a real buff colored. So you can go in here and get a little bit of buff and you can bring it in here like this. If that's too much, I can go in and erase some of this. Look at this right here. And then by erasing it with a paper towel on this kind of paper, I can actually add a little bit of a texture to it, which is kind of cool. It's not a buff Orpington, it's a Rhode Island Red, so it's going to be a little more red. So I'll go back in there and throw some of that in. So I just get a feel for this. I'm letting my brush dance. I'm not painting like this. Go back and do this. This paper reminds me of some of the early lessons. And maybe it's because in my mind, tomorrow afternoon, I have a busy, busy day. The latter part of the afternoon, I'm meeting 24 foster children with their mentors, and we're going to paint. And we're going to paint on some simple paper and some more complicated paper, but we're just going to paint something small. So I get to go and hang out with them for a couple hours in the afternoon. And so I'll go through this art lesson. And so I picked up another pad of paper just to show them how easy it was to learn how to do this. And so you paint this little Rhode Island Red. Now, what I loved about these pens when I started with this, and so once again on the pens, let's see if there's another question up here. Let me do this right here. Just drop into the queue. Do you work better under pressure when meeting a project deadline? You have no idea how that helps me. And here's why that helps me. I knew months ago that I was going to have to do this video, okay? I even went down in early June and shot some of this footage because I had to interview this gentleman who was 84, and I had to interview another person who was probably late 70s. So as I put all this together, I still had a couple pieces missing. And so I had a videographer there in Florida. This is in Ocala. And she sent me some footage. And then one more interview that I needed, she sent that footage. And I said, shoot it 3 different ways so I can choose it. And so I'm producing this from a distance. And so it's kind of hard. I get all that information finally just like last Saturday morning at right after our show, about 10 o'clock. And Carol and I were leaving to go to Highlands with some friends. And so what I wound up doing was I took my small laptop, but I just couldn't edit there due to several things. So that meant I was coming back. But here's what happens. I'd finally got all the information in one place. To me, Jason, here's the answer to your question in a nutshell. When that on-air light comes on the air, my adrenaline peaks. My sensors click in, and I find a clarity and a focus that I didn't know that I had. And I think you'll find that's true in architecture for sure. My daughter was a 5-year architect at the University of Tennessee and did that professionally for several years. And she would say, our professor would come in about 4 o'clock in the afternoons on our class on a Friday and say, oh, the client just called and he needs to change this, 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 and this, and your deadline's still Monday. And so they would go, oh my gosh, everything that I was thinking about putting around and moving and painting with and putting together suddenly I'm down to the bare bones. I am down to 2 pens, a brush, a little color, and I've got to render this thing and I have to make it work and I better get busy. And so, yes, I think that the adrenaline comes in. If you haven't tried that, give yourself a deadline to ship something by 3 in the afternoon. I had a children's ministry that I worked in, and my team knew that 3:30 on Thursdays, everything had to be done. And so they'd say, gosh, I'm struggling with this. And I go, don't worry about it. Just make sure it's done by Thursday, 3:30. And they would go, Thursday at 3:30? It's Wednesday now. And I go, well, then you got Wednesday at what, 2? Well, you got 26 hours. Or 26 and a half hours, go. And so they would go, oh, what? And I said, you'll be clear. And so they would go, I said, if you needed my help, you can call me, but go for it. And so there is that. If you haven't done that, give yourself a deadline or have somebody else give you a deadline and watch what happens to your creativity. It'll skyrocket a little bit, I promise you. So I do think there's a time where you change your students, not for making life harder on them, but saying, welcome to the real world where things change. And you got to take it with the flow, and you got to see how you work under pressure, and you got to see how your anxiety works. And so I do think that's a great thing to do. So for me, I love creating a little bit like that. And that's how tomorrow at 12:30, I meet with 20 different people on storytelling. There was a fish hook I had on my shirt here. Here it is right here. Let me show you what I've been doing for the last. When you edit video, there's a couple things that happens when you edit video. You have to import footage that sometimes is lots of gigs of footage, and it takes a long time to import that in the editor. And then you have to transfer it over, and the computer has to render. And so during that time, I didn't want to just sit here and go, where's the popcorn? Or what else can I shift to? I can't. I have to watch it and I have to tend to it. But so I cut off some little watercolor paper, just little squares like this, because the group that I'm speaking to are storytellers, and we're talking about how they can make a difference in people's lives. And so each one of them gets one of these little things right here. They get a real hook that can go on a hat or a notebook, and then they get one of these little fishing flies. And so I have sat here during the editing in the last few hours, and under pressure, knowing I was going to meet with them on Sunday, tomorrow at 12:30, I started painting fishing flies. So they're all signed, and they have a little reference on them. It's a little scripture reference, actually. It's Matthew 4:19. And so I've painted 20 of these, and I'll probably do another 5 today just to have some extras. And I'll put the little hook on them, and then I'll have their leaders hand them to them once I leave and just say, hey, he left you something, and he wants you to have it. And so that's kind of how that comes down. So I don't waste any time sitting around, but some of my best creativity comes in the last minute. All right. This, of course, is a little card from Home Depot. Did I steal this? Well, sure I did. But do you really steal sample cards when they have probably 500,000 of them there wanting you to take them home and put them against your wall and see if you like the color? So I just chose vibrant white. And last night while I was sitting here putting out an outline and thinking, I just painted on this one. And it's really kind of crazy how the ink and I can almost feel this watercolor paint. So I painted this little fishing fly on a little card. Thank you, Home Depot, for your paper. I usually sometimes I get them in greens and blues, and it already has a beautiful blue background, and I just paint it. It's like painting on this paper. It's sort of slick. So here's the Rhode Island Red. So this is what I started with. So those sample cards are just there. So look, don't take a box in there and fill it up with them. Just get 5 or 6 at a time. See if you like them. Make a note of what you do. Next time, come in and go, hey, you paint a lot. And you go, you bet I do. And also, every now and then, just take one back and go, hey, look, I painted on one of these cards. I like this color. I want you to have it. And they go, seriously? All right. This is one more time. It's mixed media paper. It's 184 pound. It's 6 by 8, 15 sheets. I think this is probably about $5.95 and with 20% off at Michael's. That's a good place to get it. And then I love these pens. These are still Pentel, and they're needle tip. It's the 05 and the 07. And so what makes this fun for me is that I can use this pen in the wet ink, and it tends to do pretty doggone well. And I love that. I want some of that red to come over here, and I want just a little more red with, sorry, I changed brushes on you, and that one's dry. A little more Rhode Island red in here, just because the Rhode Island Reds are red, because they call them Rhode Island Reds, I guess. I don't know. I don't know enough history about the Rhode Island Red, but I should look it up sometime. Anyway, there's a little Rhode Island Red. And I'm going to take a little bit of just mummy brown here, or some ugly brown, I should call it. There it is. And I'm going to put it on this leg, and I'm going to take a little of that out and just put it in there because that leg's shaded a little bit. And so I might come in with a little darker red and put it down there and let it shade like that. That might be good. So sorry about my nose, but you're not as sorry as I am. All right. So there we go. So there's a little Rhode Island Red. And let's see. If this had a caption, it would be... I don't know. I'll write it in a minute. But I think it's something like, don't confuse me with your sister. What was that little red hen? You know, she wanted everybody to help her bake bread. I eat the bread. I don't bake it. And maybe that's that. Maybe that's the caption right there. So I'm going to put Rue here. Don't be afraid to sign your art, people. Some people go, well, I don't know if I should sign it. Hey, and don't feel like it's vain if you practice your signature. I need to practice mine more because my writing is horrendous. So practice your signature, you know, but don't make it so that it would take 2 autograph experts and microscopic surveys to figure out that it's yours. Put your name in there somewhere so people go, oh, and put a date on it too. I know some of you didn't do that in the beginning and you're beginning to do it now. And with great confidence, if you like your work of art, put it in there. So this little Rhode Island Red is going to go to somebody's farm who raised Rhode Island Reds, or who told their children that little story of who will help me bake the bread? I will, said so-and-so, but they didn't. And who will help me grind the wheat? I will, said the little peeps, but they didn't. And you know the story? And then, who'll help me eat the bread? I will. I want to go. No. You know, kids need chores. Man, I came home from school. You know, I didn't do homework. There's a reason for that. I have a stack of sample cards. I love it. All right. All right, so here we go. So that's a little Rhode Island Red, and then I'm going to show you something else that here's another one of those that I just painted the other day while I was sitting here. Take a look. This is one of my favorite roosters. I just love his simpleness, and the white in him is the space, is the holidays, and these two will show up somewhere recently or soon. They probably won't show up together because they don't look like they're dressed to go out for dinner. Now, too much water on this paper will cause it to buckle. Just put it aside, let it dry, and it'll frame just really well. And I love that. And what I might do here is just give this a little bit of a blue splatter in the sky, just kind of twist the paper a little bit. So all the spots are going in different directions. I kind of like that. I don't like it when, rain falls random. Look how rain falls on your porch sometimes. Just go out in a rainstorm and watch. Go out in the first storm or on a paved driveway and watch where the rain falls. It doesn't just fall in all straight lines. So sometimes when we splatter too hard, we splatter too fast, we splatter in a straight line. Don't do that. Turn the paper sideways from the get-go. Just a touch. Put it here, and then each time you splatter it. Now, what I do sometimes is I'll just move around like this. You'll see me do it. There's 3 little that went right down to where they weren't supposed to, but they did. And so that'll give you a little more random. Look at the crevices. Look at the clouds. Look at the grass. Look at the rocks, the formations in rocks. Nothing in nature is lined up and straight. Those are left for the architects. And what you need that in buildings, because it's hard to curve a 2x4. Have you noticed? All right. I'm going to add a little more yellow in the legs of this Rhode Island Red, just because they sometimes have the yellowest legs I've ever seen. I think it just is a cool color thing that God did to make them just offset just a little bit more. So there's my sister to the Rhode Island Red who eats bread. Hey, I made a rhyme, didn't know it. Nature is perfectly imperfect. Hitty Penny. That's it. Thank you, Amy Roach. Hitty Penny. That might have been one of those. One of my favorite cartoons of all time, and it's not worth telling you because I don't have it to show you, but the Chicken Little was the sky's falling. But if you break that down, one of my favorite cartoons is this set of stairs. And I don't think it was a what's his face cartoon, who everybody would know, who drew the crazy stuff. I draw crazy stuff, but he was famously crazy. But there's all these people standing around. There's these chickens standing around, and there's this guy his face is sort of smashed into the street, and his feet are up on the steps, and he says, "This guy is falling. This guy is falling. This guy is falling." Makes me laugh. So every time I go down the stairs, I think, whoa, this guy is falling. All right. I just ain't right, huh? I know. Warner Brothers, Henny Penny. Oh, Henny Penny was Warner Brothers, really? There was also a nursery rhyme, wasn't there? Henny Penny. All right, so there's a couple roosters that I painted on this media paper, and I really do like it. It's thick enough to really hold up. It's got a good look to it. It's bright white, which I love because watercolors pop. Remember, these are American Journey colors. All right. This is Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle, and let me read you something. And how do you like my bookmarks? They're coming along real well. Remember, on September the 8th, right before I go to the camp, David's Table Camp, I go down to paint with those people. We're stopping in Asheville to meet James Farmer, who was with Southern Living magazine for years, and he's at Libby's store where the birds come from. And I'm painting him a bookmarker, and so she's asked me to bring some bookmarks over. And so this one says "Good Words Flying In." So these are my bees. This one is bee number 265. They're on the back here. Listen to this. Here's Pat's work. Someday soon, wake up and say, "I will reinvent myself. The world needs my art." If you haven't said that in a while, I want to go back from time to time and just, pitch my book? Yes, of course. That's why you travel, and that's why you do art, and to help people understand that they can do this. It's not just so that, hey, the more of these we sell, the more hot dogs Pat and Michael get. Well, maybe at least 1 or 2 for her husband, Pat, and Carol. But it's really to withhold nothing, is to give people something that they can use, that you can use for your own family, your own creativity, for your grandchildren. Wake up soon and say, "I'll reinvent myself." I've woken up 7 or 8 times in my life. Each time came from I either resigned, I left, or someone resigned for me. You know what that means, right? So there were a couple times where I was asked to resign, and I said, "No, thank you." And they said, "Well, then we'll have to fire you." And I said, that's the word I've been waiting on. Fire me. So they didn't know how to do it. And so I stayed on another 3 months because they were taking care of me, and I was doing my work, and they didn't know what to do with me. And it wasn't that I wasn't doing my job. It was that there was a personal thing at the the top of the organization. And so they finally figured out by sending over about 5 other people to say, if we give you this and this and this and this, you're fired. And we're afraid it's going to look bad for you, the firing. And I said, no, it's going to look bad for you. And so fire me. And so I'm just that kind of that guy, but I had to reinvent myself. Now that's a hard thing. But I love inventors, and that's how this chapter starts. So someday soon, I did this again in 2020. I reinvented myself again. I'm just going to paint online, and I'm going to show people what I know. I don't know a lot as an artist, but I know enough to be creatively kind of out there. Those little wires up there just touch together sometimes, and they spark, and they may give you ideas. And that's why you should have a pen or paper. It's not that I'm brilliant at all. It's that I might say something that connects you with a point. And you'll go, oh, what did he say? Oh, yeah. Someday soon, wake up and say, I'll reinvent myself. The world needs my art. I love inventors. They get my respect, my attention, my accolades. They really do, by the way. The older I get, the more I find that we must learn to invent. Time will come when you have to reinvent yourself. The world changes. 2020 proved that. Time shifts, work shifts, regardless of your gifts, your talents, your and even tech skills. You have to be willing to reinvent. If you think everything is going to stay the same, you are so mistaken. That's not in the book. I'm just making it up now. I edited myself, or I could have written pages on this. To not change is to simply dry up on the vine. Far too many people close the craft cabinet door, the musical cases, the artist toolboxes. They choose to not pick up writing tools and journals and think they've come to the end of their creative uses. Hold on. I was once terminated from a position because the organization said, we believe you're too old. Ironic. I had finally seen enough years and experience to make the difficult changes that the organization needed. There's more to this story, of course, but I had to reinvent it. So change or dry up or die in a sense. This lesson was amazing. And so that's the whole thing. Maybe you whittle, you write, you wander down trails of poetry, watercolor, write songs, carve spoons. Somebody needs your input. Somebody needs to know what you know. Consider learning something new and reinventing yourself. Now, why would I read you that this morning? I'll tell you why. It's because 4 months ago, I got a phone call from a gentleman that 6 years ago, I shot a video of him on my back porch. My son and I produced 4 videos for him that helped him raise quite a few $100,000s of dollars to set up a ministry that he was working on in South Africa. And he moved there with his family and lived there for 5 years. He's back. I helped him on some consulting projects, which started me live streaming. He wanted to know how to live stream to his consultants in 2020. Why? He was reinventing himself. He called me recently, and I said, hey, let's get together. We were talking. I said, come over for breakfast. I'd love to just fix you breakfast. So he comes over. We have this long breakfast together. I fixed steak and eggs and just one of those fresh tomatoes. And we love cooking. We both love the fire. I mean, he lived in South Africa for a while, so he cooks around the fire. I cook around the fire. So we just sit down and had breakfast. We sat for 3 hours and talked about family and life and love and politics and war, and not really politics, but our hearts and our family's hearts. And then we got up to leave, and I said, man, thank you. Come and do this again. He said, I'd love to, but there's something I want to ask you. He said, would you come and work with me? And I said, excuse me? And he said, I'm this executive director for this church, and I need somebody about 10 hours a week just to be, how do I say this tactfully, he said. And I said, what do you mean tactfully to me? You don't have to say it. He said, I need somebody who's old. And I said, wait a minute. I'm going to hug you. I hugged him. I said, I've been waiting for 10 years for somebody to tell me they needed me because of my age. You need me because of what I know how to do. You need me because I know how to hook things together. You don't need me because I'm a great speaker. You don't need me because I'm a great painter, not a great welder. I'm just a master of a bunch of stuff that I just put together, but you need me of how I help other people put those together. And he said, yes. And I go, that's been Carol's wish for me, that when you get old enough to know how life works, you don't get thrown out like the day old peanut butter or the day old chicken. So my point is, I realized, wow, my reinventing myself with this community and making it happen. I learned how to put my skills in the nut that was unscrewed by some people off the bolt end and say, hey, this is a pin that goes into a bridge. This builds something, a connecting point. This puts together something else. And that's why I get excited when I do these classes for you, or when I do Patreon, or when I do this live stream and show you the crazy stuff that I do. So that's Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle. The book is filled with things like that. And I really get excited about it when I think about some of the stuff that I get to do, like this storytelling event that I'm doing Sunday for 15 people from teen to who knows how old, on how to creatively capture a concept and tell a story. This is not going to be an easy process. So we're going to meet several times, but that's the kind of stuff that I love to do. Until you've reinvented yourself, until you start to loosen up with your skills and quit worrying about what everybody else thinks and get out there, you're going to be limited and you're going to be holding yourself back. Who's holding you back more than you are? No one. No one. You have this, you think you can do it, but you don't put it out there because you're afraid that you'll be judged on it. Nobody else is putting it out there. So put it out there. In the words of Seth Godin, ship it. Send it. Fix the next issue. Look, I polished this video as much as I could polish it. And then I said, this is as much as I can see my client's vision. I sent it and I said, I need you to watch it 3 times. And then I need you to watch it the 4th time with a notebook. And I need you to write down things that doesn't ring true to you. It looks like they could be changed and ought to have a different meaning and shortened and lengthened and different music. I need all those things. And I need the list back by this morning. I got the list last night about 11:30. It popped up. And so when I'm done here today, I'll go make a little breakfast, and then I'll move all this aside, move my editor in, stand up behind this screen behind me, and I'll plug in to editing video again, and I'll change that, and I'll send it down, and I'll meet the deadline for a Tuesday performance of this event for hundreds of people to come in and see this video. And I think I had a part in their next development of what happens to this property next in Ocala, Florida. That is the storytelling for me that's connected. It is so close to my art, it's scary. And I'm not afraid to ship it. All they're going to say is, we don't like this. And I go, what's this? Gone. Okay, what would you like to put in this place? I'm never offended, and I never fight for the things that I don't necessarily have to fight for. Oh, no. And if I have a good reason, here's my example. Everything I put in this painting has a reason why. I left this little star-looking piece on here where those feathers were laying over. I left this little cut down here. The way that rooster's feathers go in, I like his tail overlapping. Somebody said, well, this real roosters don't have this. And I go, it doesn't matter. I left it in because of the look and how it draws the eye in. And they went, oh, okay, that's good. Leave that. I do the same thing for my video stories. Now, when I edit stories and write stories, I do the same thing. I go, wait, there's too much information here. Stop that information. When I do these shows, I give you too much information sometimes. But I do that because it's a show where you're in class and you're learning. But when you're out telling it on stage, the audience is smarter than you think. And you just make your paintings where you love them. And then other people will love them because they'll start to love your style. Whew. How many times have I said that? I don't know a lot, but I'm going to keep saying it. It's so important. All right, so these two will get wrapped up into a little painting, and they'll go hit the auction block. And this, of course, is Cocktail Anyone. These are the kind of little shrimp that I paint when I'm sitting at a seafood place. As a matter of fact, these are local seafood place here. I could tell you where it is right now, and you could walk in. And the first thing you see on the little reception desk where it says, please wait to be seated, is a little painting of mine on the front of the desk that says, need a cocktail. And I gave it to the lady who served us. And the manager said, could we have that to put on the desk? And I'm going like, nah, I don't want my artwork out there. What? Yes. It's very honoring. All right. So, let's see. I had a piece I was going to show you here. I just threw it over here out of the way. Here it is right here. Write down if you haven't. August 19th. Remember when we painted seeds? And we sent them out look at these. These are marigolds. I love this. It says, our doctors have told us that our growth spurts are over, but sometimes even doctors are wrong. We are growing. And we're growing in our ministry here. We're growing as individuals. We're growing as people. We're growing as artists. That's a great letter, Skeeter, and I appreciate it. It's from David's Table. It came with a note. It came part of their development for who they are, and that's what we're helping them with on the auction on the 19th. It came with a pack of seeds that I haven't planted because I wanted to show you how it came. And it came with this original drawing right here. Take a look at this flower that was painted to me by Chris. And I'll be showing you some pictures of these special individuals who painted this. There was a little flower that was outlined here by a very special lady. And then they got to paint them with whatever colors, and some needed their hands helped in holding. Some needed to help hold the brush. Some maybe, like Johnny used to paint with her mouth. And some of these kids did these. And so we're going to be selling these on these cards. And this is mine. This is Chris painted this. And it's going to be framed here in my studio. But I'm keeping it like this until the auction. I wanted you to see it. And I think Chris has done another one for the auction. We're going to sell these. And what I'm going to do with these is I've been painting some bees on little cards. And every flower needs a bee or two. So I'm going to throw in a couple bees or here or there, one bee or two bees. And we're going to auction those off. And that's going to be the auction. And all the money goes to David's Table for scholarships to the camp. Best way I know to help them. And so I wanted you to not have too much of my art, too much of anybody else's art. I wanted you to have their art, because I think when you look at this, it'll put them on your mind. And the goal is not to raise, the goal would be to raise whatever we raise. But really, there's another goal for me. It's that you would put this in your studio somewhere. And every time you looked at it, you would remember that there are people less fortunate than us. And you think about them. And you help them. And you hope for them. So that's kind of my goal, right? Does that make sense? Ta-da. Okay. All right. Kind of got emotional there. That's the other thing that happens when you get old. Your tear glands just really pop up there, and they get right up there, really up close and high and personal. And so that's always kind of crazy to see what happens with those. Okay. All right. I had another piece of paper here that I was going to throw down a piece of art on. I'm looking for it. Not that one, not that one. Son of a gun. I don't know who organizes my desk, but apparently no one. Here it is right here. All right. Remember, this is a good book. It's a story about business, but it really is some meaningful, meaningful connections between people are important. Joyce and I really see eye to eye on some of this in here. And this family, by the way, I got to tell you, they have hosted my personal family for the last 15 years every Christmas Eve. We go to their house late Christmas Eve, and she puts on a dinner that will just blow your mind. The table is set with silver goblets. It is over the top. It is a cherry on top. She has gifts for us. We play games. My grandkids think that is Christmas, and it is a major part of Christmas in our life. And so every now and then you meet people that are just amazing like that. Okay, hey, one more piece of paper here and about 5 minutes left this morning. I hope you picked up that just because you're getting older, so what? You know more than other people, so share it with them. You got grandkids? Take them out to coffee. Yeah, take your young grandkids out to coffee and say, I'm pouring you a cup of coffee today, and here's why. This is tea. Pour them tea if they want that, and say, life is not what you think, but it's better. I don't care what the government's doing. I don't care what the political side is. I don't care this. Human beings haven't changed. I treat people the way I want to be treated. In fact, I give gifts. I've learned finally in my life to give gifts better because my wife gives things that she likes. So I told you a few weeks ago, I gave these people gifts in the corporate thing. I didn't pay for the gifts. They asked me to expense the gifts, which I did, but I bought things that I wouldn't want to keep. And so that's where one of those fish hooks come from. I thought, I want that on my shirt pocket. I want to remember that I need to be a fisherman of men. And so I put that in there. And then I thought, fishing flies. What if I painted an original fly? They didn't ask me to do that. I just did that. And I thought that would be really fun. So I'm going to paint a fly for you this morning. And it's going to be a little oversized, but I'm going to show you how I paint fishing flies. And so then I'm going to take the next few minutes and just do that. You ought to be able to knock one of these out in just a few minutes. And if you have a fly fisherman in your, look, I would love to sell these? Sure. But I'd love to teach you more? Sure. Look, here's one that's almost black and white. Look at, let's do this one right here. See this one right here? Okay, let's do that one because you might want to know how to do those feathers. So watch this real quick. Here we go. Put those up there. Here we go. Let's do it just the other direction just because I'll be that guy today. All right, so I'm going to use this oversized and with a pen. I'm using a Pentel Energel 07. So here we go, a little fishing music here. Can I just have some fishing music, guys? I don't know what that would be, but let's put on a little classical fishing music here. Do I have a fishing story? Yeah, man. All right, so what I do is I draw the little head of you see this is going to be a pretty good size. And then I go ahead and draw the hook. I'm just going to take the hook around like this and come around. And then I'm going to come back a little bit. And then I'm going to do the barb right there. And then I'm going to double it back. And we'll start right in here. And come down. Whoa, it's a nice hook, even if I did draw it freehand. The reason, I'm telling you, the reason you paint 2,000 bees, 50 bicycles, 50 fishing flies is by the time you get up to 50, you're going to be building some muscle memory. That's what all this is about. Now, I'm going to start building the head of this fly like this. Music's perfect for this, isn't it? Now I'm just going to do some cross hatching here. Look at this. And then I'm going to widen it out right here. Then I'm going to taper it back in right there. Then I'm going to tie a knot right here, and then I'm going to bring some tail out like this. Just some tail feathers that are coming out there. Maybe these are the hackle feathers from the rooster. Remember those feathers that I showed you right in here? This is the hackle coming down right here. These are the hackle feathers. Do you know they sell those in fly shops, right? Yeah, of course they do. Now I'm going to cross hatch this the other way. See how easy this is? People are going, I wish I knew how to draw a fishing fly, and you'll try to take your time and do all this. Look, I'm not taking my time. I'm having fun with this. I feel like my light's blinking here this morning. Okay, come on. What's going on? All right, let me grab a little brush, and I'm going to grab, I had a brush laid out here. Rats. Here it is. This is a number 3, but it's a rigger brush. It has a long point on it. See that? All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to grab. I'm going to grab a little bit of Terry Tardy turquoise, and I'm just going to let this turquoise drift in there with the black. Because remember, this is 140-pound watercolor paper. But what's happening is the ink that I used is. Water soluble, and so it's bleeding, and so I'm getting a little more in there than I probably wanted, but I'm gonna come in here with just a touch of red right here, and maybe a red tail feather to come out there like that. Okay, this needs to be a little thicker right here, and we'll do some more of these right here. Now I'm just putting my pen in this ink, and I love that. Look at that right there. Maybe this needs to be a little wider right here. It's kind of a woolly worm fly. And some loose little hairs on that is fine. Now watch this. I'm going to come in with a little of this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to get a little bit of this yellow. Let's just use yellow on this fly, and let's brush it up just sort of like that and sort of like that. In those 2 big feathers. Those are my hackles. Remember? I told you I'm going to get some yellow hackle off of this painting right here and put it in there. Got a couple more minutes to go. Watch this. I'm going to grab just a little bit of brown because I think I got some rusty feathers coming down here like this. Just a rusty color will go with that brown. I want a piece of orange in there somewhere. You know, I don't know if this is a real fly or not, a real bug. I know one thing, a fish would see this coming through the water and go, dadgummit, I want a bite of that. And so, and that's what fish say. They say dadgummit right before they. Now I'm gonna find a pin. Ah, here's one. I'm gonna use the lammy, and here's why. I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna make some feather cuts in here. Now watch this. I'm gonna show you how to do this on this piece of paper right here first. Look at this. I could do it by just doing this. Let me show you. Just these little twig marks like that. See that? Look, this almost looks like a feather, doesn't it? You're going, come on, he did not. Oh, yes, he did. So let me show you how it looks like on this. Okay, so now I'm going to take that, and I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to go da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. What you just saw me do there. Look at this. You see that? Oh, come on. Fishing for a compliment, are you, Jason? All right. All right. Here we go. Then I'm going to just take my brush and I'm going to go in here and wrap up with a couple minutes to go, one to go here. And I'm just going to grab, and I'm just going to go in here and put a little bit of rust on this fish hook, just a little brown, because you don't want a shiny, shiny hook to scare the fish away. I might come in with a little more of this pin just right in there where it's tied in. Now I'm going to go back. Some of this is drying a little bit. I'm going to grab a little more of that Terry Tardy turquoise, and I'm just going to punch a couple of little pieces down there. And look what we just did. All right, so to scale, this fly is out of scale a little bit. You can tell that, okay? It's just the way it is. But it could be a big saltwater fly, and so it may not be that far out of scale, okay? But if it were a little trout fishing fly, yeah, it's way out, okay? So if you wanted to, you could come in here and just grab a little of this and darken this up. What I like to do then is just get maybe some green ink. I got a little bit of green ink here. Believe it or not, he does have some green ink. Look at this. I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to take a little, and there I tied a little green string to it right there with that green ink. The reason is sometimes the leaders on your fly fishing rods will be green. So there you go. So there's a little fishing fly, and I would do this. I'd do Roodoodles, and then over here I'd go go fish. All right, and then maybe it just needs maybe it needs a little splatter somewhere. Let's do a little of this. And you're going like, what's he splattering with? Oh, he's going to splatter with blue in a minute. I'm just going to put a little blue in here in this water like so. And then I'm just going to slap that on my hand like so. And then I'm going to hold this up and just blow on it. There we go. So there's a little fly for you. All done. Now I want to try one. I bet it turned out really well. Oh my gosh. You people are just the punniest I've ever talked with. My fly needs a bug of salt. All right. Hey, blessings on you all. Thanks for being a part. I got a busy, busy day. Got an amazing day tomorrow. Got a wall cover with some people that I'm going to send notes to right now before I go make a little bite of breakfast and start editing. Take a sip with me. All right. I know who I need to send the first note to. Get that one off and running. And if you haven't texted your kids in a while, if you have children, just go ahead and send them one out of the blue. Just say, hey, thought of you this morning. Hope you're doing well. Ping. You're going like, really? I do it all the time. It's a great way to connect. Guess what? They read text. All right, there you go. You got a bee kind of day, busy. Ciao, Tizzy Chambers. Blessings to you all. I'm out of here like a herd of turtles, and I'll see you Monday, Lord willing. Do you paint fish? Ruth says. One. I painted one. You got to catch them before you can paint them.